Okay. So tell me about your background and what you told me a little while ago, a little bit.
I grew up going to a prep school and was repeatedly told, even by the coaches, that I was a klutz. That it was just drilled into me that I did not have physical abilities. So I started trying to take ballroom dance, wondering if I could do anything with it. And the first competition I went to was down with you guys at a step to gold. And I did 7 dances and got my heat sheet back later that night and couldn't understand what all the ones meant. And my teacher had explained that it was all first places. And I couldn't believe that. I was literally unable to believe it. It took me 6 weeks to absorb it and to believe that I could actually win that many all number ones. So that sunk in, and I kept going with it. And even one night, at one competition, about 5 years later, won both bronze and silver level American 9 dance titles at a competition, and that's still one of my proudest days of my life. But it was I've
Took a lot of work, didn't it?
It did, and I've had a lot of people try to help me believe in myself. Nothing helped me understand that I could do well in things, and that I really had a reason to be proud of my accomplishments, like ballroom dance has.
Why do you think it's different?
For me, part of it is because of that whole issue of being reminded by the coaches of being a klutz. And it's one thing when the kids tell you that. When the coaches at a prep school, your parents are paying a lot of money, tell you that, you believe it. And then I thought all I'd learn is a few dances and do a few underarm turns, and maybe at some point be on a date where I could impress a woman by saying, look, I can dance. And I got addicted. So that's part of it. It's addictive. The people in it were all supportive. I didn't have people dragging me down or anything like that. I just had people that were helping me not just learn the dances, but believe that I could do it.
Mm-hmm. That makes a huge difference.
Yes.
And the community is usually very, very supportive.
The ballroom community is wonderful. And I'm a former teacher myself, and I mean classroom teacher. I'm really impressed with ballroom teachers. I've seen teachers like in algebra when I've observed their class or when I've been walking by and say things like, I've been teaching this for 20 years, why don't you guys get it yet? And then they catch on, oh wait. And they get tired of doing the same thing. But I've seen ballroom teachers understand, yes, an underarm turn is simple, but not for these people who are just starting to learn. And I've seen that almost across the board, that ballroom teachers tend to understand this stuff is hard for beginners, or it's hard for people at that level. And they know that. They don't look as, this is easy, why don't they get it? So they understand the student and how much it takes inside to learn.
Yeah, and your teacher was trained well.
Yes.
And that makes a big difference.
Veronica was a very good teacher, and she's now teaching in classrooms in special ed in the Outer Banks.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm teaching a lot of kids myself, and I'm having a lot of fun with them. They're homeschoolers, and they're just so wonderful.
And see, you're doing a great thing with them, because that also gets them in with other groups of people when they do that. And I wish there were more ballroom dance or ballet or other dance programs in schools, because I think that would help a lot of kids.
I think so too. Yeah. New York did it.
Yes.
And that's what the movie Mad Hot Ballroom is all about.
Yes, and there's another one that's similar. I know
Take the Lead.
Yes, and I know there's also the math one, Stand and Deliver. It was with Edward James Olmos. But that was a different situation, but the teacher believing in the students made the difference. He didn't see them as inner city idiots that didn't know. He saw them as, they can do this, it's just this stuff is boring, they need a challenge.
Yeah, well, it's kind of different when you're interacting with another person too.
Yes.
Builds up your confidence.
Yes, it does. And that's the thing, it's just, I couldn't believe I could do some of the things I've done. And let me add,
good for you.
One thing that I think is key to note. I came in to start touring ballroom, and that was before Veronica had opened Simply Ballroom, and she was teaching elsewhere. And a few months later, she left that to start Simply Ballroom. And I would tell my friends, hey, I'm going to a ballroom lesson tonight. Why don't you come with me? And they'd all say, oh, I'm tired, or not this week, I'll go next week. And they all said they wanted to learn ballroom. A year later, I did my first showcase. It was a tango showcase. And it's not anything outstanding, it's not anything super, but I was doing tango and doing tango steps. And I showed the videos to my friends, and they said, I wish I could do that. And I said, that is from the 52 weeks where I went to ballroom dance lessons, and you said you were too tired to go out and do anything.
Well, good for you. I'm going to show, this is some of the things that he has participated in. And this one right here was at
your studio in 2008.
2008. Was that the first time you competed?
That was my first competition, the one where I literally could not believe I could win #1 in anything. And poor Philippe, who had worked so hard on his stuff, he had had a double stroke that February. For the 3 hours driving back that night in my convertible with the top down, and we were enjoying the wind, about every 10 minutes, all I could say is, damn, did I really do that? I was really in emotional shock over that.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was possible.
Well, sounds like you've had a very happy time since then.
Ballroom has been wonderful. And it also helped me find my wife.
Oh, good.
And I ended up, before at some point suddenly realizing we both were buying a dance studio.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, now you're really in it. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.